Hello and welcome to your Surviving to Thriving audio guide, Summer Edition. Oh my goodness, I am so flippin' proud of you for pressing play on this because it is so easy to download things to think, yeah, that sounds like I need that, but not to take action. So well done. If we haven't met before, my name is Ro. I'm the founder of the She Collective, and I am so deeply passionate about women's health and well-being, but I love coming at it from a really human approach because that is why I started this, because I always felt a little bit alienated by the health and well-being world, where I didn't feel slick enough or like my life played ball enough to fit in. So if your life is a little chaotic, if you find it difficult to stick to those healthy habits, to prioritize yourself, you have just entered such a safe space. So welcome. Okay, so now you're here, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to take the time and make the space to actually listen to this audio, because if you can, then in 20 minutes' time, I guarantee you we're going to get a bit of fire in your belly. We're going to shift those feelings of overwhelm, and you are going to know the exact strategies and tools that you are going to use over the summer holidays to stay sane, stay happy, and keep prioritizing your own health and well-being. Because I'm telling you now, everybody gets the benefit of that. And the reason that I've created this is because I'm right there with you. I'm a mum. I've got 3 boys. I've got 1 severely disabled child. I work full time. Life is a massive juggle. And for years and years, I really struggled to prioritize myself. And it put me into such a dark place. And that is where I sort of discovered everything that I'm going to talk to you about. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. But that's why I need you to take this time. Right. Are you ready? Because let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, I need you to get in the right headspace, because the truth is that we are never harder on ourselves than when we are in that state of juggling it all. So even if you are still in the school runs, or maybe you're in summer plans, kid chaos, house is messy, work demands, and that leaves about 0 headspace for you. And what happens when we get into that headspace is that really nasty voice, right? I think we all have one. Mine is a lot quieter, thank God, these days. But they sit on our shoulder and they tell us that we're doing a terrible job, or that we can't stay healthy, or that we're a pig, or we're, pretty nasty, right? And so first up, I need you to understand that we're going to take that voice on head on, because one of the loveliest things I ever heard was the other day on one of our walk and talks, was hearing that that voice had been replaced by me. And I was telling that woman that she was bloody amazing. So right now, okay, you might find my voice really annoying, but let's get a voice, a really positive voice that is going to replace that voice, and it is going to give you almost like a virtual hug, like you're giving yourself a hug and you're saying, you are juggling a lot right now. I've always said this, but as women of this generation, it's like a blessing and a curse. Like, yes, we can have it all. We can have careers. We can have kids. We can do it all. We're also expected to do it all. And we're living in a world where we're not set up for summer holidays. And actually, that extra juggle is really hard on our health and our well-being. And we quite often get left at the bottom of the pile. So I see you. I'm here to hold space for you. And I need you to come at this with a lot of self-compassion. So this isn't a motivational, you've got this pep talk. This is a moment of calm, of clarity, and support. And this is designed to help you reset your mindset and protect your energy and feel more like you again. Because just remember what I said, everybody gets the benefit of that. So putting yourself at the bottom of the priority pile, it's a no-go, okay? We're not doing it that way. So let's go through a bit of that mindset reframe, okay? Because let's start with that pressure that you might be feeling right now, and that voice inside your head that it can often be saying, there's no time for me. I'll just get through the summer and I'll start again in September. Everything's so chaotic. What's the point? Now let's try and rewrite that voice. Let's try and think about some of the things that this summer that you could say to yourself instead, okay? Challenge that voice every time it comes up. So instead of there's no time for me, that becomes my time doesn't need to be long. It just needs to exist. honestly, I cannot even tell you how much the power of 5 minutes, it is insane. And I'm going to give you some great ideas for things that you can do when you've literally got 5 minutes that aren't screaming in the bathroom. Okay. So, how about the other one? This is a classic one. I'll just start again in September. The problem is with that is that if we just see it as a slippery slope downhill till September, you are essentially dragging yourself from beneath the ground. And that is not a good place to be starting September. Let's start September feeling strong. So instead of that, think about, what do I do today? What I do today is the start of how I want to feel then. We can implement these small little changes over this summer that are going to put you in such a strong stead for September. And isn't that a better place to be? How about this one? It's all too chaotic, but instead that can become, I can't control everything, but I can support myself. And this is all about controlling the controllables. There are curveballs in our lives, left, right, and center. It's like every time you decide that you want to change your life, right? And you're like, I'm going to get fit and healthy, woohoo! And then you get ill, or the kids get ill, or a work drama happens. The curveballs are insane. And we are faced with options, right? We can either set ourselves up for success so that we can do everything we can to support ourselves in those moments when those curveballs come, or we can let them throw us off track, throw in the towel, and then be 2 steps back. Now, there are 2 types of curveballs, right? We get those curveballs that are ones that basically, they're potholes. We can avoid them. Imagine yourself cycling down the canal, you're on a bike, you see a pothole, what are you going to do? You're going to swerve it. And those are those things that we really can set ourselves up for success. Those are the things where we're carving out time, where we are doing that food prep, whatever it may be. And then there are the curveballs that come that are waves. Those, I'm afraid, you just got to ride them out. And that is about giving yourself the tools to stay resilient, to sit in that moment, to be able to hold space for yourself, to nourish your nervous system, and know that you will come out the other side. So I'm not saying that, unfortunately, I wish I could do this for you all, which is that I could come into your house, cook your meals, set up your clothes, make it all as easy as possible for you to stay healthy and fit this summer. I can't do that. But what I can do is give you some tools that are going to be really easy to implement. So the first step that you are taking is making that mindset shift. So we are not here, girls, to overhaul our lives or stick to perfect plans. That is not realistic. Hello, it's summer holidays. We just need those teeny tiny, meaningful moments that are going to build us back up. And that is how we are going to shift from a summer of surviving to thriving. But the whole way through this, I need you to think of yourself as a battery, okay? It's delightful, isn't it? Just literally, you can imagine yourself in a giant battery outfit. And I want you to think about your life in terms of the things that are draining your battery, or they are basically recharging your battery. So there may be certain friends even who you think of in that respect. Are they somebody who is draining your battery, or do they recharge your battery? Housework, drain, right? Let's think about all the other things that come with summer holidays. Navigating school clubs, drain, mental load, all of these things. But then let's think about that recharging, those 5 minutes of taking time to breathe, a bubble bath, taking a bit of gentle movement, putting some music on and dancing in the kitchen, eating a nourishing meal. Those things, they are there to recharge you. And so it's our job now to work out how we can fit them into those pockets of your day. Okay, so let's start to talk about practical magic. Okay, so this is how we actually implement what we are talking about. And we are talking about quick wins here. So we are talking about what can you do this week that will support your body, your mind, and your energy. So let's start with a movement reset. Okay, so you don't need to think about this in terms of a full workout. You need to think about this as a mood shift, because emotions are basically stuck in motion. The moment we start moving our bodies, honestly, it's wild to me that I can literally shake my body, and sometimes I can feel that shift. So let's talk about how we can get you that shift, because Sometimes those emotions, particularly in the summer holidays when you are holding so much, they get sticky and heavy, and that's not what we want. We want you to feel light and energized. So, the first thing I want to say with this is that you've got to match your mood and match your energy. If you are going into a 40-minute HIIT workout when you are exhausted, you are setting yourself up for failure. Set yourself up for success. So, if you are choosing a workout, I want you to think about realistically how much time have I actually got and recognize the power of 10, 20 minutes. Okay. Then think about your mood. Are you pissed off? Do some kickboxing. Great, get it out your system. Are you exhausted? Do some yoga or some Pilates. Like, this is why I include so many different types of movement within the She Collective, because there is no right or wrong here. You've got to find your formula, but you've got to tap in to what you need. Now, if it's feeling like too overwhelming, then what I tend to do is I set an alarm for 5 minutes and I just tell myself, I'm just going to do 5 minutes. If you do 5 minutes and you don't want to keep going, fine. You've kept your promise to yourself. You have done 5 minutes. But if you want to do more, then that's great. That's also a win. And so one thing that I do as well to kind of almost preempt that workout when I really can't be bothered, and trust me, I know I'm a PT, but trust me, the reason I'm so passionate about this stuff is I do not have any natural motivation, is I really find that music makes that shift for me. So I put on a playlist and I sort of, mine is called my Wake and Shake. Okay, I've got Lizzo, I've got Taylor Swift, I've got all of those things. And I literally wake up, put on my playlist and shake to this playlist. And yeah, it might sound mad, but you could do it as a kitchen disco. Just really lean in to the power of music. And what you will find is that then you can feel maybe that's enough of a shift for you, or maybe that's the shift that you needed to make it to the mat. But the summer really is about leaning into not what you're burning or you're achieving through those workouts. It's about thinking about how you're going to feel after. Because the biggest myth of motivation is that it comes at the beginning. I have watched the people who have said that they have been the most unmotivated women ever, and they are now consistently working out 3 to 4 times a week. But that came because they got the momentum. So build up. Maybe you're saying to yourself, right, I'm going to have a kitchen disco 3 times this week. And then maybe next week you do 3 10-minute toners. And the week after, maybe you've got space for a couple of 20-minute workouts. But that consistency, that is what is going to give you that shift in energy. And that is the goal here, okay? So whilst, yes, okay, it's great to be, lifting weights and feeling good. And we do that a lot of the time of the year. But this summer, this is about staying sane, staying happy. Your kids are not going to remember the way that you looked in your swimsuit. They are going to remember your energy, your smile, your presence. And that is the focus here. The only other thing I want to say about exercise before we move on is that we've got to stop putting ourselves in boxes. So often women come to me and they go, oh my God, I've always wanted to join you, but I don't exercise at home. And I say, oh, do you go to the gym? Yeah, well, I don't actually go to the gym, but I just wouldn't exercise at home. And then when they often try that they do 1 or 2 classes maybe in person and then they supplement it with home exercise, great, they finally found their formula that actually works for them. There is no point in saying to yourself, I don't do this or I do this, because you do not know what your formula looks like. So this summer, whether you are a gym goer, whether you are a home exerciser, scrap the rules and just go with what feels good. And that's the same for the kind of movement. It doesn't just count if it's on a mat or in a gym. Okay, so those big walks that you might do with your kids, those playing in the park, all of those movements, that is adding up to this bigger picture. We're going to move on to nutrition and fueling our bodies, because this is the second pillar within the She Collective, and it's so important, right? If we are moving our bodies, but we're also filling them with crap and we're having loads of sugar, loads of alcohol, we're getting into that self-sabotage, you're basically driving with the brakes on. So you're not going to get the full benefits, but it's also really important to be realistic about what nutrition and fueling our bodies looks like over the summer holiday. So midsummer food chaos is real. Let's be honest. We're talking snacks, lunch boxes, If one more person asks me that for food, I'm hungry, it's like the same goes at Christmas, right? It drives me insane. And so it is so important that this is all about simplifying food. So we want to think about all those ways that we can simplify food. So one of the easiest ways to do this is a double dinner or a double lunch. So when you are cooking and when you are spending that time to actually prepare food, see if you can double the quantity, because that really is such an easy way to set yourself up for success. Another thing, tray bakes, like honestly, just a game changer. Meals that are 5 minutes to prep and then can be used in multiple ways. So cook a tray of chicken and veggies and maybe some lentils, and then you can use that 3 ways. So you could use it in wraps, in a salad, or even on toast, and you've instantly saved yourself hours. And that's basically the premise of the recipes that I've been putting together for our SOS package, right? They are either prepped in 5, can be doubled, or just take those 10 minutes, okay? Because we've got to make things as easy as possible. And with a lot of the recipes that I have been creating, they have been taken from Gusto. Now, the reason why is because I do Gusto. So if you don't know Gusto, it's meal boxes. You choose your recipes, they send you everything. It's all fresh ingredients cooked from scratch, but they just give you everything that you need. Now, people get put off because they think of the expense. I've tried to buy all the ingredients myself for the same amount. It's actually really difficult, but it takes away the mental load. So even if it's £5, £10 more, you've got to think about, actually, the thing is, this is being delivered to my door. I'm not going to the supermarket. I'm not being distracted by lots of different things that I could buy. And this might be a great time for you to try a meal box, because so many of them, you get a huge amount off your first 3 or 4 boxes. So really do set yourself up for success with this. Make it as easy as possible to be eating healthily this summer. And I want you to think about all of your food choices in terms of energy. So something that we really focus on within the membership is, one of the first things is getting you off that roller coaster, right? It's the getting off that roller coaster of waking up in the morning and having a coffee, spiking your cortisol, and then grabbing a piece of toast or some cereal, being hungry by 10, crashing, boosting yourself back up with biscuits, all these things. It's like exhausting for your body. So one thing that we want to do is really try and support ourselves to get off that roller coaster. And the simplest thing we can do is taking care of the bookends of your day. So really looking at what you are doing in that morning, not having caffeine on an empty stomach, having 20 grams of protein in the start of the morning. Like, these are things that are so important for setting you up for success. Then what you will find is, if you take care of the beginning and the end of your day, the middle bits sort of fall into place. So there's loads more about this in the nutritional coaching videos inside the app, but I think that's a really good starting point. So we're going to move on to the nervous system, because I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. But the nervous system, in my opinion, is the most neglected part of women's well-being. Because if you think about your nervous system, it can seem a bit airy-fairy. But what about if I told you that your nervous system is responsible for your stress levels, but also your sleep, your hormones, your energy, your basically vitality in life? Then you'd start to take more notice, right? But what happens is, when we are constantly living in that flight or fright, in that high cortisol level, then what happens is that at first it's quite helpful, right? We've got that adrenaline pumping through our bodies. But then we start to feel it, that drag. It drags us down. And so often when women feel those symptoms of brain fog, of lack of energy, it's because they've got frazzled nervous systems. And there is never going to be a time that it is going to be so challenged as the summer holidays. So I want you to think about your nervous system in terms of 5-minute magic moments, okay? Some ideas that you could do for that is some box breathing. Box breathing is one of the quickest, most effective ways to regulate your nervous system. So whether you're in the car or, yes, escape to the bathroom, yes, I've been there. You're breathing in for 5, holding for 5 at the top, and exhaling for 5. You want to make it even more effective, make that exhale a little longer than the inhale. Do 5 rounds of that, and that is the simplest way to signify to your body that it is safe, okay? So box breathing is a great way. Having a cup of tea in the sunshine with no phone, spending 5 minutes without a phone in your hand, no doom scrolling. That is so, so powerful. Legs up on the wall for 5 minutes. I know that might sound absolutely mad, but it works. Just looking up at the ceiling, just taking away the noise. I think at the end of the day, we can't always control the noise, but we can regulate our response. And that's what this is about, because your nervous system is not a luxury. It's your foundation. And I've done a podcast episode on this. If any of that resonates, I really recommend listening to it. You can just search the She Collective podcast anywhere you listen to your podcasts. I can't believe we're already at 20 minutes and I feel like I've got so much more that I want to say to you. But of course, this was just a taster. But if this resonated with you, then of course, I have got something that is going to help you keep the momentum going. So our SOS package, Save Our Summer, this is the 4th year I've run it. Every year I bring it back by popular demand. And this is designed for women like us who need realistic, flexible well-being to support us during the chaos. And inside that package, we've got short, feel-good workouts, no equipment needed. We've got family-friendly recipe books to make food feel easier, mindset boosts, nervous system tools, and they are all available without having to sign up to full membership. So you can access this just for £15 for 2 weeks access, or £37 for 6 weeks access, because I really am on a mission here to improve women's health and well-being and makes it as accessible and fun as possible. So either way, if you are joining us for SOS or if your journey with the She Collective ends here, I really hope you've got something from this. But I just want to leave you with a little bit of encouragement, because I know that the summer holidays can feel like so much. But I promise you, those tiny shifts, if you make them, take them, they are really going to stack up, because this isn't about getting it right. It is about supporting yourself through the messy middle, and you are not going at it alone. Please know, like, one of the most beautiful things I see in the community is this understanding that really us women, we all feel it, we are all navigating it, and we are all going through it together. You are not meant to be alone, and you do not need more pressure. You just need more permission, and that permission is to do things your way, to press pause, and to take up space in your own life again. So finally, just let me be your reminder that you matter too, okay? So even when it's noisy, even when everybody needs something, your needs matter. It's so important that we remember that. Don't lose sight of yourself. Go ahead and have an amazing summer. I am so grateful for you joining me, and I shall hopefully see you inside the app. If not, use these little nuggets. Let me know how you got on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you, and have a great one.